It's a real honor for me to be here. I'm quite impressed. Thank you for making the trip here. I want to give you right away a preliminary statement saying that I'm going to say many things which not may be appropriate because I don't know enough about Bhutan. I've been learning about Bhutan in the books. I've been learning in Bhutan by driving for 8 hours from Ganti Valley to here yesterday night, right? But I've got a lot to learn. So the theme was success for entrepreneurship, right? And I'm very pleased to come here in Bhutan, which is a country which has been close to my heart for a long time. And Bhutan has got an amazing name, brand name, despite what you believe being a very small country. It's something absolutely extraordinary in many respects. And I think this is an asset. Me, being a brand guy, right, a person which cares about brand, I have to say that I'm amazed by what you've been doing over the years. I think that what I've seen is an amazing landscape. So you've got a fantastic country. But really the reasons I've been coming to Bhutan and our path have been crossed is due to two people here. And first, I would like to highlight and thank Girard. I believe that Girard deserves a big round of applause for all the job he's been doing in Bhutan. I just want to put back a little bit of reflections about where we're in history, right? And there is this slide that I like, which is stating that we live in the age of acceleration. The mankind progress, or a certain type of progress, has never been so fast. And I couldn't basically avoid to show you that slide, which is essentially a slide which had been built by my friend at Singularity University, which talk about exponentiality of many sciences. And what you find out there is that in human history, the world population and technology milestone, right, all around the place here, what you as a generations, me as a generations, what we will be seeing, never been seen in centuries ago. We move from the what railroads, the telephone, the automobile, the penicillin discovered, the DNA, ADN, right? The nuclear energy, the PC, the internet, the genome projects, which is an amazing one, man lands on the moon, all of that happens in 20, 30 years. My generations, right, as a kid, grew up seeing that happening on large screen in TVs. So this acceleration is very, very unique. Now, what it means for us is very tough. You say, okay, good, Pascal, there is an acceleration, so what, right? So I just try to illustrate what we talk about to understand the point. Throughout the history of civilizations to 2003, 5 exabyte, megabyte, gigaoctet, megabyte, gigabytes, exabyte, which is tons of data. We created 5 exabyte of data. If you take all the library, even the one which has been basically burned right here and you lost several there, all together, it's 5 exabyte of data. In the year 2015 of our age, in one day, we create basically the same amount of data every day. So what this word is about, when you talk about exponentiality, is essentially about data. I could have talked to you about telecommunications, I could have talked to you about digital revolutions, but it boils down that we have a lot more information. We generate information by the minute. My lady, Catherine, have been certainly shooting 400 or 500, if not 1,000 photos over the last 5 days. This is data, right? So, parallel to that, you got something also which is amazing, that the number of online users has been basically skyrocketing, right? 15 years ago, you had 400 million people which was on the internet. At the time you lift the ban. Today, or anytime soon, out of the 6-7 billion populations, 4 billion of them will be on the internet. And that's fundamental to understand. It needs to open your eyes. Here in Bhutan, I understood that we got more than 220,000 Facebook users, right? Out of 700. It tells you something. Now, why is that interesting? Because the grammar, the orthograph, the language of our current times is essentially what we call software. And the beauty over this same period of time of 15 years is that it has been becoming far more cheaper, much more easier to create a software company. And that's why my friend Mark Andreessens, which founded Netscape, has stated that the software is eating the world. And it's something that you should look on the internet. He has been very successful with that. He is demonstrating that whatever we do today and tomorrow, it will be about the ability to write codes, software. So there is more people which are on the internet. It's cheaper to write software, which is essentially what is the fuel of the internet. And what is also very intriguing is that you don't need to be rich, full of money. You may only have a $2 billion GDP, right? But actually, you can still create amazing value. You may not know all of these names, but Alibaba Group is becoming the most valuable retailers. And they have no inventory. They don't own anything. They don't put anything on the so-called balance sheet. Worse or better, Airbnb, the world's largest accommodation providers, has no real estate. They don't own any wall. Imagine that. They basically, I'm going to show you later, they took 8%, actually, 8% of the total accommodation in New York in 3 years. They are worth twice more than Hilton Group. Hilton Group is a chain, like essentially a large chain of hotel, right? And essentially they don't own anything. Still, they are the largest accommodation providers. Uber, you may have heard of Uber if you go on the internet, is the world's largest taxi company, but they don't own any vehicle. They don't have anyone on their payroll which is driving. So why I'm telling you this? Because it shows that even you, in your so-called tiny country, with the unique assets you have, as long as you've got a really good broadband infrastructures, as long as you are educated, and you are told how to write software, the world is yours. And I'm not joking, right? I've seen all of the places, people which are in the middle of nowhere can create global companies. So if there is one thought, not an advice, I hate advice, I will never give advice, right? But if there is one idea that we'd like to share with you, is essentially to focus on writing software, right? Once you feed yourself, once you have the basic infrastructure around you, the software is the only things to do. Now the internet is extremely brutal, right? Now what it means that at the time of the internet, these new barbarians, Uber, Airbnb, or Alibaba, are destroying jobs, destroying business. They're challenging the order, right? The pre-established orders. And in illustrations of that is to show you that if you look at this market cap, which is one measure about others, you find out that the top 10 market cap companies in '95, only one, Apple, is still existing in 2015. So even in the internet, when you exist today, you're not sure to exist tomorrow. And what happens is that you had a massive destructions and newcomer here. If you take the market caps, new name appears: Alibaba, Facebook, Amazon, Tencent, eBay, Baidu, Priceline, Salesforce, GD.com, Yahoo, Netflix, LinkedIn, Twitter. They all come only from two countries, US and China. And they create an immense amount of value if you talk of monetary terms. Here, the top 15 companies were worth $17 billion. 20 years after, they're worth $2,400 billion. 20 years. 20 years, if you agree that a year, let's say 250 working days, right? If you agree that you've got 5,000 days, in 5,000 days, you basically destroy and recreate an X150 values. Unbelievable, unbelievable tough. So be ready for that and get the mindset of the barbarians I talked about. But be also very careful about the destruction that you create and mindful about that, right? Now, obviously, you insisted that I tell you about my own experience. You talk too much about myself, so I'm going to go quick. I had the privilege to be recruited by Steve and the rest of the teams, and I've been witnessing this at the prime spot. I choose to go to Apple in 2000s versus to Dell. Why is that? Because I saw people which had the idea to change the world, right? They were themselves barbarians. And we launched some of the amazing products. Apparently I failed in the iPhone here in Bhutan, right? Which is why I'm going to make sure to send back to my Apple guys so that they open the store of some sorts in Apple, in Timphu, right? They need to. I know they are too expensive, but basically, if you create value, you'll be able to afford it. Yes, we grew the business from 1 to 40 billions. Today, I'm on the board of large company, people which are the old economy, and we're also helping them to move into these new transitions, going off the technology or the games and going in new areas. I'm also taking care of a good old business. This is what we call home improvements. It's not the Kingfisher, which is the beer, right? It's not the Kingfisher, which is the airlines, Indians. This is the Kingfisher of UK in London, which is a French and English companies. We have 80,000 employees, and we do home improvements. These people saw the world also disappearing. And my job, modestly, over the last 4 or 5 years, has been to help them to take over the new digital revolutions. Also had fun doing fashion and luxury, right? Coming from Apple, they all want us to basically sell expensive stuff to wealthy people, which is called fashion and luxury. And I've been doing that with a star, which is Anna Wintour. Maybe my ladies here in the room may know that. I saw the Vogue newspapers into the hotel, and that's the girl which defined the standard of fashion, right? But I'm also essentially doing something new, which is why I've been so close and so receptive to what Dr. Karma and you, Gerard, have been talking to me, which is essentially entrepreneurship. Today, at my 50 plus, the real sex I have is to basically meet entrepreneurs which are wanting to change the world. And over the last 2 to 3 years, I've been basically investing in 15 different companies. So now, let's talk about this digital revolution. And to do so, I thought that I should talk of around 6 subjects, 6 themes, 6 domains, where I will just give you some example of companies. Essentially, the digital has been impacting all industry, but there is 2 or 3 which are very much impacted, which is the travel industry. Few years back, when you wanted to travel, you knock at the door of a brick and mortar shop, you were seeing an agency which was sitting behind his desk. He had there a wall full of catalogs, and you were telling him, I want to come in Bhutan. And then he will look at catalog, do phone calls, and after 5, 10 iterations, eventually I will do my program. What has changed dramatically, Booking.com came. They aggregate all the flux from all the industry, the hotel, and they can give you at any point of time a room availability. Booking.com has been destroying the travel agents industry in some respect, has been giving a lot of hard time to the large Holiday Inn, Hilton, Accor group of this world. You and I, when we want to travel today, we say Booking.com, and then we find out, no, the hotelier, the small hotel in Gwangju, right, or in Pao, today can go online and say, hello, I've got today 50% of my room available. My standard rate is hundreds, but I'm happy to make it 50. Online, you can find that. Same time, right? Instant time. That's a massive revolution. So that was basically the last 5 years. No, worse or better, I think better, there is this new guy called Hopper, which essentially you go and you said, I want to book a flight today, or a trip today, an hotel. He tell you, okay, I got your request, don't move, I'm going to search around, and I'm going to tell you when you need to buy the flights, or this hotel at 50, because my algorithm, which are very complex software equations, right, are going to tell me this is a good time. And I will send you a notifications on an iPhone to tell you now the time has come to basically book your hotel or book your flight. And you and I, we all heard about yield management. which is the company they give you my recommend retail price is 100, but when it's on peak seasons, it becomes 150, and other seasons it's becoming 50. So what these guys are doing, they are managing that at the scale of the world. And that's very unique. No better, there is a new type of travel agents called Wherefore, which is essentially find you the best trip for your budget and preference. You say, I want to travel for this amount of money. I like Ecolodge versus a 3-star hotel. I want to rent a car. And he built, through automatic algorithm, the best possible trip for you. So that's getting close to what we call IA, right? Artificial intelligence, where he's getting all the intelligence there. A word of mouth. One day, you may have a robot talking to you, telling you this. This way is not yet here. All of that to tell you, this agency, the traveler business, has been impacted massively, massively. Can they survive? Yes, if they live with the rule of the modern time. Now, in the travel, you've got also the hospitality. I want you to know and look at Airbnb as a platform for users to list and find and rent lodging. If you have got a house in Bhutan tomorrow, right, or Bhutan, or in Gangti, or Paro, or Timphu, which is empty, you can go there and say, hello, my room is empty. I'm renting it for you for few dollars. Now, doing so, as I told you, they took a large share of the New York business, disrupting totally the industry. No, that's the first disruptions. We've got a second disruptions already. The second disruption is that behind that, a new business has been created, which is the business of Hostmaker, which said, okay, you live in Timphu, you've got a home in Paro, let me clean up your apartment in Paro when the people are gone, let me change the linens and your beds when the people change, or better, let me also welcome the people coming in your home. So you see that, like Schumpeter, we're being creating, destroying one industry, and we're creating a new one. And the world, the humanity is so creative that the minute you do something, something else will be coming. So all of that to tell you that there is no question that the travel industry has been disrupted massively. And now the question is that where Bhutan, which a core resource could be a high quality tourist tomorrow, will take benefit of that, right? Second industry is the transportations. The transportations has been massively disrupted, right? Now you may have heard of Uber. The front cover of the US, English, French, Germans, Chinese magazines talk about Uberization. It's a new word. And what this guy is doing is telling you, it takes benefit of my phone, right? That has been the key. The phone has been the revolutions. It tells you, I want to order a taxi. I click on it, through the GPS, it knows where I am. Then I enter, second step, where I want to go, right? So you don't see that here, right? But if I not through the GPS automatically where I am, I said where I go, and then it tells me, in order to go from today here to Paro, it will take you an hour and 15 minutes, and the person which is going to travel you out there is right now finishing another job, but it should be with you in a few minutes. Massive, massive revolution, right? That's what we call a platform. Now, you, which are really taking care about the sustainable development, I still saw in the places, right, many cars which were half empty. Tomorrow, thanks to this platform, in Bhutan, you should offer that platform. Now, what it means that 64% in 18 months of the number of classical taxi drive in San Francisco, right, that's San Francisco, have been gone, replaced by Uber. A massive change. So that's in transportation, taxi within the city. Now, there is more to come, like always. You've got even something done by an amazing French company called BlablaCar. They also came 6 months ago in India. Now, BlablaCar is very cool. He said, I'm Pascal. I'm going at 6 p.m. tonight to Paro. Do you want to join me? And by the way, I am a private individual, so I'm not going to charge you like a taxi. So I said, I'm living there. It costs you few cents of dollars. He put that on the platform. Someone said, hey, I'm going to Paro too. Can you come to pick me up there? This 17 million people in France today use it. This has reduced the train, right, circulation by 8%. A massive disruptions. And they are now in 20 countries, they're in India. And this is nothing different than what you see in your country when I saw the minibuses, right, in my infamous road going to the Gangti Valley, which are full where people find. I believe that you should jump on that type of software and create that here. Because then you will have what we call the share economy. The magic word in what I'm talking to you here is the concept of share economy. No, that's the second revolution. So within the city, from one city to another city, which is called intercity. But then a new company which I've been backing up, called Via, is disrupting Uber. Uber today, when you go in Manhattan, right, which is New York, and you go from the south of Wall Street up to Hyde Park, or suppose that you go from in Timphu, from the Tashi hotel to here, right? The taxi will cost you, even if it's a Uber tomorrow, let's say $10. This guy said, no, I'm going to recruit myself, the chauffeur. I'm going to guarantee you one price, $5 in New York, whether or not you go from Wall Street to Wall Street and Wall Street to Hyde Park, whether or not you go from the Taj to next door or the Taj to here. Fixed price. And they have such a software, an algorithm powerful, that they will basically do car sharing. They will pull in people. An amazing revolutions. Now all of that means what? That the average occupancy rate per car in Europe, which was 1.7, and maybe here you're closer to 2.5, has been within a matter of few weeks, months, moved to 2.7. This is good. It's less costly for the people, and is less emissions because less car drives, or the same stock of cars drives. So that's why I thought this is relevant for you. And you should be on the leading edge of that in Bhutan. You should demonstrate to the world, help the world to say, we came a little later, okay, we are part of the emerging countries, but we learn from your mistakes, and in consequence of what, we're going to take the best of what's happening today. And guess what? This is about software. You don't need much of billions of dollars in the bank to buy capital expense. No. You need just people trained and using basically and writing codes. That's the differences. So, if you don't mind, since you seem to follow, I will go to my third example, right? Which is the banking. And here, let me tell you right away. I was talking to my friend at lunchtime. He told me, oh, there's not a lot at ATMs, right, in Bhutan. I read an article by which the credit cards are not yet totally rolled out. Guess what? Don't put any ATMs in Bhutan. Don't take any cards in Bhutan. Look the next stage. And let me show you what it means. For many years, when you had a small business, a new life is about small business. You had essentially a cashier, you had a big software, you had phone and so on. There is a little company called Square, created by Jack Dorsey, which is the same guy which created Twitter, which is basically using the Wi-Fi and the connections with the radios, right, the 3G or 4G, have been creating square. This is this little square here in which you zip your card. That's what they've been doing in the US. Massive revolutions. Hundreds of thousands of small business suddenly better to buy this big, expensive, costly terminal, have been leveraging their phone, adding little square which costs zero or close to zero in any shops, and doing the services. But that was yesterday. In fact, this is already obsolete, right? Because the real way to go is that you and I, we can exchange money. This is another amazing company, Transferwise. Essentially, when I came in Bhutan or I came in India, I could go to the bank, to the TravelX ATM into the airports, bring my pounds, bring my euros, and change. For that, I would have been taking a big service charge. What this guy has done, he said, you know what, if there is one Pascal going from London to India or London to Bhutan, there should be another karma coming from Bhutan to London. They have two needs. Let's create a software platform and ensure that they will exchange. And if they do so, I will not take as much money as a classical bank. This is a company which every month is trading 500 million pounds every month. They didn't exist 750 working days ago, right? So that just tells you the speed of change. So when I talk about disrupting the bank, you can do that. Better, suppose you are still in the classical bank systems. There is a new company called Riverit. It lets you pay and withdraw cash with no fees at any times. They've got an agreement with MasterCard. They're sitting on top of all the thousands of credit cards all around the world. And today you can use that. How many times you use your credit card and you couldn't pay because you were in debit or because you were above the limit that were given to you in arbitrary ways by bankers? Several times. These guys are trying to change it. Better, I backed up a bunch of dreamers called PAVE in New York, which wanted to reinvent the traditional loan for the generations. They went in the US, they say the students in the US, since it's essentially private, and maybe you can illustrate that, there is billions of dollars of debt. When I want to go in the US university, and you are all privileged here because you essentially don't pay for university, right? In the US, they borrow a lot of money. They go out into the working life. They have already a debt in the account. I had a debt in my account. Now the concept was to say, we're going to back up these new guys, if they're entrepreneur, and we're going to take a share of your revenue in the next 10 years. Because these guys never get credit anymore, right? So again, this is a way to disrupt banking. So I could give you tens of other examples in banking, and I could also tell you that your Chinese neighbor are actually the most advanced in internet. All the people believe the US are far ahead. Wrong. In China today, in internet, WeChat, right, Tencent, Alibaba are showing the way. And better to only look at the US, and you should continue to look at the US, to look at the good old Europe, where we're a little more balanced. You need also to look at China, because on the internet, because the way the regime works there, the people, the billions of people, right, took the internet over. And you can do, for example, already peer-to-peer transfer of money or payments. Through an SMS, you can do that. Africa. You know what is the most advanced country in banking systems in the world? Not the US, not London, not Germany, not Paris, not China. It's actually Kenya and Tanzania, right? They revolutionized the way you can pay there. You can pay there through your mobile phone. So all of that to tell you that it's possible. Not everything is possible. You need to choose your battle here in this country because you're only 700,000. But you can really make something happen in a very different ways, even in banking. Another example is the food business, right? That's very fashionable right now in Europe, very fashionable in the US. It's called the food tech. What it means that essentially you got a new business called Deliveroo. What these guys are doing? Are they replacing the restaurant? No. Are they substituting to what you buy into a shop? No. But what they do, they deliver local restaurant food to your door. Essentially, better to go to the restaurant, you can call, orders, and this guy will send to you. I'm not sure this is relevant yet for you, but I can tell you in London it makes a big change because everyone is working and it takes time to basically do your shopping. Better or different, Frischti is even internalizing everything from order to cooking and delivery. This is tells you, these people basically have a website for menu. You go in the comfort of your home, you order something, they will essentially tell you where they source the goods. It will be tracked and traceable. They will tell you that the fantastic potatoes that I bought in the Gangti village, right, Gangti Valley, which I went to see, which are very, tasteful, right? Me being French, no, taste is important, right? You could know where they come from. They have their own kitchens and their own chef, all basically split it around the places, and they have their own fleet of bicycle and electrical scooter to deliver that to you. So massive change. The technology, the software enabled to change that. Now another one I want to show you. Remember Airbnb? I share my apartment with people which better to go to the hotel, will come to my place. No. Looking at that, you've got these guys called With It, which are basically not only you share the apartment, but you also propose to people visiting your place to share the food with you, right? Meal sharing marketplace for travelers. So I go to New York, I go to London, I go on Airbnb, I said, this is the place I'm going to rent, $50 versus a $200 expensive hotel. And then this is the place I'm going to eat the same night, next door, 2 blocks away from where I'm living, right? Sharing the food. Every family in Bhutan is preparing the food here, right? So think about the business at stake there in a way or another. Maybe not a priority yet, but it will come. Now, in Bhutan, 60% of the population is still in agriculture, right? So that's where I think this is relevant for you. Farm block. At least in Western countries, the farmer are now becoming very much the lumpen proletariat of the world. They are the people which are only 2% of the English or French populations. They don't make a living. Why is that? Because they sell to very powerful retailers, which take a margins, which then have brick and mortars retail stores to eventually reach you out, right? This model is past. The beauty for the agricultures, and that's very, very relevant for you, is through a software. Essentially, you have the 3G, you have the broadband, right? You have your field out there. You can go online and say, hey guys, this is what I'm producing. You can take photos with the same iPhone. You will be able to basically edit and say what is the food, and you will be able also directly to harvest it. So you say that I have the best potatoes of Bhutan in my field in Gangti Valley. If you want a few kilos, I'm going now to basically take it out, and whenever the unfamous road will be done, I will be able to ship it to you within 1 or 2 days or few hours, right? So that's what we call disintermediation. There is no more intermediary which each take a cut, making the poor guy, which is doing the real job, basically taking the earth, turning it, putting basically all the right ingredients, being the loser of the value chain. And that's going to rechange basically the relationship, right? Because these guys here, the guy which harvests the stuff, is taking now 75% of the total cost. While in the modern world, in Western world, it takes 5–10%. Unacceptable, right? So I believe this is something you should look at, right? And think about it. Because even if the agricultural population will go down in Bhutan, I wish you that it doesn't go too slow down, and that a way for you to be very proud of your beautiful countries is to give them a way, a means to continue to make money in a decent way, because they deserve it. So that's just to give you one of the many examples of the food. But I couldn't stop here, coming at the Tech Park, dealing with the Loden Foundation without few words on education. Because all what I discussed till now is not possible if you don't have reasonably well-educated students. No, when you go in the countryside, east of Bhutan, north, in the Central Valley, you find out that it's tough to have what we call face-to-face or leader-led training, mean professors sitting in front of kids. So here again, this amazing digital revolution is changing the rules. Keeper or Quipper school offers essentially the teachers to contact directly with his kids. And in the same view that your king has been trying to basically build up some model, right? By which he's trying to offer a personal curriculum vitae to each and any of the students, they allow you to basically master all of that. So there is a teacher portal where you access your teacher's administrative account, and there is a student portal. So imagine me if I was born, right? Where's my Yugen, right? If I was born in a deep-end villages, right? Far away from here, I can walk a lot to go to the school, costly school. I can attend there a few hours, or I can, and I don't think we should substitute, it should be this, plus when I go back home, once I have the 3G, right? Or the 4G, or the broadband, I could basically continue entertaining this learning. That's the concept of learning for life. Now, you've got even something else. You've got the ability now, at your age, me at 50 plus, to basically go and say, I would like to have a course on Buddhism, right? I went to see many of your monastery. I love Buddhism, I've got a lot of respect, but it's very complex for the Western guy that I am to understand the subtlety that it took you 20 years, 30 years to get. I could know and order my own course. This is what we call the personalizations of educations. Last but not least, there is a massive revolution called the massive open online courses, which is happening. Today, you and I, we can go and we can basically sit in some of the best lesson class delivered by Stanford or by Harvard. These guys understood that better to put 20, 30, 40K dollars per year and having only 100 students in the classrooms to listen to a well-renowned professors, which has 20, 30 years of experience. Maybe it would be their interest to put a video of that, a curriculum, and share that with the world, because doing so, they will build their brand. And today, you can go on the internet and have the best courses online for free. No, it's not worth it if you don't have a curriculum, if you don't start A, B, C, D, up to the Z. So don't get me wrong, right? If I have no educations, I haven't gone to an elementary or secondary, I cannot yet benefit of a Harvard course or a Delhi Institute of Management course or an HEC or Stanford or Sciences Po in Paris, right? Or LSE in London. I can't. But at the end, if you got some of the basics, you can basically share a lot more on education. So all of that tell you that education is the next big paradigm of choice to be disrupted. And remember, in my chart, I show you that we only started education. That's come actually from Clive Perkins, right? The internet trends, and I think McKinsey works on that. So education is going to be disrupted. So when you think about education, don't do it like the Brits has done it 50 years ago, or like we have been doing the last 20 years. Think differently, use the tool. Last but not least, I wanted to talk about healthcare. You have an average expectancy life here that I found very low, right? In the books I read it was around 60, 62 years, right? To compare to France, where we've got a lot of welfare at 80 for the man and 88 for the woman, right? They live longer than we do, right? Happy girls. But essentially, on the healthcare, better to do what we have done in Europe, or in France especially, building magnificent hospital in each and tiny villages, right? subsidizing the GP, the general practitioner, right, the doctors, to go to each and any of the household and the house. Today, you can use the technology at its best. You can essentially have a continuous heart monitoring with cardiocore. This is a revolution. Patient monitoring, wireless electrocardiogram, right? On the spot. I can be 20 hours of cars from here, and I can transfer that to a doctor sitting in the beautiful new hospital that you're building right now. Scanadu, right, is essentially a self-diagnostic for vital signs, temperature, blood pressure, heart rate, ECG, oximetry, which is essentially linked to the hemoglobin saturations, or heart rate. I can be 20 hours away from this beautiful hospital that you are, do the auto-diagnostic, share that with a doctor, right? And the famous doctor can even do the telemedicine with MedOne, a doctor in the palm of your hand anywhere, where you can measure all body vitals with equipped digital stethoscope and otoscope. I can be 20 hours away from Timphu, get that stuff in my hand, reasonable cost, which can be shared by your community, take basically the measures, and online my doctor will tell me what happens. That's changed dramatically the world, right? We haven't yet even touched the top of the iceberg on that matters. And Gérard, which is a prominent partner of Mérieux, which is a fantastic digital health firm, right, could tell you a lot more about that. The old people that you have around you, right, your mom and your fathers. No, I don't know about you, but I fight with them so they take the medicine. We even have basically medications taking care and Adiatech. I can track and trace the fact that if they had 3 pills to do, they will effectively take it, right? So I can tell them, Mom, today you haven't taken the right medicine, and I want you to stay alive longer. And most of the time you want them to stay alive longer, right? So that's basically a last example of the multiple revolutions in the digital world. But prior to do so, I couldn't resist being this really well-educated European businessman or managers to basically challenge you and said what you should do. I would not call that advice. I call that my 2 cents, right? That's an English expression that I'm still trying to learn, being French, right? Which is essentially, when I've said that now for what? An hour of speech, I show you 40, 50 slides. So what? So what for me, sitting in the audience, right? So I've got 4, maybe 5 ideas that I would like to share to start to debate with you. The first one is that, from what I understood, in this country, when you wake up, when you grow up, when you go to the study, still the best things, the most prestigious things to do is to become a civil servant and to get as close as possible from His Majesty the King, right? This is all good, and the early days, a state which is in emergence mode needs to continue to do so. You need a state, you need a fabric of basically governance, you need infrastructures, what you do, road, hospitals, telcos, many others. You need a state of law. But the minute you have done some of the basics of that, at the opposite of the mistakes we have done ourselves in the welfare state in Western Europe, you need to be one only focus, iconizing, stylifying the entrepreneur. You're all here because either you are entrepreneur or you are wannabe entrepreneur. The entrepreneur needs to be the icon of the modern times. I keep repeating that in my good old Europe. I learned so much from my American friends. If you don't do that, you will not create the job. You will have the unemployment. You will not create the value added. So I would just suggest that you do whatever it takes to have basically the entrepreneurship in Bhutan becoming the next big things to do. You want the new generations of you 18 years, 19 years, 20 years, 21 years, young generations to come out and say, I want to create a company. I want to recruit people. I want to do it with a sense of purpose, right? The why. Like we did at Steve. Steve was very good at one thing. He said, we want to disrupt the world. Hence the questions, think different. Right? When everyone was cutting costs, we were increasing R&D. When everyone was telling us, you should do a photograph, we're creating the iPod. When everyone telling us, the iPhone is already in the hands of telcos, there is no point for you to enter, you are a small company of a few billions. We came in and we reinvented the phone. We killed the Newton in 1998. We reinvented the Newtons with the iPad in 2010. So there is always a way to reinvent stuff, right? So that's only the entrepreneurs. Now, once I said that, there's something you should not forget. You're only who you are. A small country in a very remote area and 700,000. So your job is not to reinvent the wheel. Don't try to do a big university to create a new operating systems. To try to compete with Apple, with Amazon's, with SAP, Oracle, right? That's not your job, right? Your job is to fly, serve, taking benefit of what exists. So your mentality here, your mindset, your ideology needs to be about what exists out there. What is it that I can do to the benefit of my people, the benefit of my team, the people of my companies? And essentially you need to take full benefit of these ecosystems. Yes, Apple may take 30% of what you sell, and it's outrageous, possibly. If you're on Samsung, you may take only 20-25%. It's outrageous. You can also take basically the foreign stores, but essentially they exist, right? And it's not you which is going to change these guys. These guys are going to be taken care by the antitrust commissions in the US or in Europe, right? If they don't behave. So what I would suggest, kind of in the spirit of what we have been doing here with TechPark, is that to create education institution to train software developers. And not to create huge software. No. Remember, I told you that today you can create a software company with a lot of cheaper ways than you did just 5-10 years ago. So you need to leave these guys invest, do the ecosystems, and you create just the apps, the applications. The little piece of software which sits on the Samsung, Apple, Huawei, Xiaomi product, right? Tomorrow, which are going to get cheaper and cheaper. And by the way, when you look at the startup nations, which was basically surrounded by quote-unquote enemies, right? Israel, these guys, because they are no other choice, a small country of 6 million, have been creating the largest concentrations of startups. Now, I am Roman Catholics, but I have to say that what these guys did over the last 20-30 years is amazing. It's best in class. All of that to tell you is not because you're only 700,000 that you cannot do something. If you're smart, you focus, and you choose your battlefield. Now saying that, you can create global company for Bhutan. And yes, I come from Europe, but guys, you are next to India and China. So watch in and out. These two guys represent 40% of the world populations next to you. You have border with these guys. So whatever is the geopolitics, today we, in the digital revolutions, we don't give a word about it, right? We sit down on that. We are free thinkers and we are disruptors. So your job is to say to respect institutions, authorities, moral consensus, right? But you still need to say how I'm going to look at best in class. And I think you've got a lot to offer there. And last but not least, not my advice, my 2 cents. Not my advice, my 2 cents. I think you need to look at what are your unique assets. You've got 100% of Bhutan farming is organic. No, you've got in London crazy people which will pay 3 times more to eat organic, right? You have it 100%. So make sure to keep it that way and do something about it to leverage it. 42%, that's your fantastic speech of February by your prime ministers at TED Talk, right? I learned that day that anytime soon you will have 42% of exportations of electricities. And that's very much carbon neutrals, actually negatives. And last, you are also the green tech, the first and only carbon negative countries. So this is about creating a brand. Bhutan is a brand. Bhutan is beautiful, has got peaceful, smart, long-sighted, benevolent leaderships. They are the only country being carbon negatives. They actually sell and can monetize their natural resource without impacting their environments. And they have something that the world would love to have, which is organic, 100% agriculture, right? But let's remember, like my good Alan Kay, that the only way to predict the future is to invent it here. And I invite you to invent your future. Thank you, guys.